Nintendo has come a really long way from their humble beginnings making Hanafuda cards back in 1889. Since then, they've jumped from playing cards to toys to arcade games and eventually home consoles. My first game ever was Super Mario Bros. 3 back when I was about 3 years old. I'd spend hours not even playing the game myself, but just watching my dad play as Mario would traverse through grand worlds riddled with enemies, power-ups, and secrets. To this day, Mario 3 remains to be one of my favorite games of all time, and my lifelong love for the Plumber duo was only solidified when the Super Nintendo came out. And back then, Mario memorabilia and media wasn't very cohesive, to say the least. Nintendo hadn't quite pinned down their branding yet, but I still consumed it all. And as a kid, it was fun to imagine what it would actually be like to run around the Mushroom Kingdom with Mario and his friends. But the thought of a theme park dedicated to blue-collar workers never seemed to be in the cards. Pun not intended. And then, in May of 2015, which was almost 10 years ago, so can we please stop time from passing so quickly? A partnership between Universal and Nintendo was announced. Not to bore you with all the details, time skipped to the year 2023, and I made the decision to pack up my camera and friends and head to California for opening weekend. And I just want to say that this was, hands down, my most expensive content endeavor to date, so please consider hitting that subscribe button. From the get-go, you have to go down 4 massive escalators to get to this part of the park, and you have no choice but to just stare at Bowser's Castle for 20 minutes. It's like Universal Hollywood's worst-kept secret. Then, when you finally get down the mountain, you enter through a giant warp pipe that's filled with flashing colors and sound effects. It's a fever dream. And at the end of the warp pipe, before you enter into the park, you walk into the lobby of Peach's Castle, complete with paintings of Bob-omb Battlefield and the sun mosaic on the floor. Just be careful, don't look up at the sun on the ceiling, because So there we were, and at first it's a bit overwhelming because to your left you have this absolutely colossal piranha plant just bobbing up and down. There's a huge thwomp just steaming with anger. There's giant mushrooms and mini games, and you know what? Let's break it all down. So, if you bought one of the power wristbands, which I would highly recommend, it's a steep $40 price tag, but it seamlessly integrates with the app, and you're going to use that to track your progress. From every block you punch to every minigame you play, you'll earn points, which count towards your global leaderboard score. But more importantly, you'll earn keys. And earning 3 keys grants you access to fight Bowser Jr., which may be one of the coolest things I've done in the theme park. But we'll get to that later. The minigames. So there's 4 minigames in total that you can play to earn a key. You have Piranha Plant Nap Mishap, which all of these sound and feel like IRL Mario Party minigames. This one has a bunch of alarm clocks on a bridge that are on the verge of going off and waking the sleeping Piranha Plant. You gotta smack them like the add 30 seconds button on the microwave to prevent them from going off. And if the Piranha Plant wakes up, you'll lose. And you just waited 45 minutes in line for nothing. Although, I kind of like that sentiment. People need to know they can fail. Next, you have the Goomba Crazy Crank, which features a lonely Goomba just trying to run up a hill, and your job is to turn the crank as fast as you can to kill him. There's the Koopa Troopa Power Punch, which requires you to line up a pacing Koopa Troopa with a POW block and then obliterate him. You get a couple chances to do so, but unfortunately, this was literally the only thing in the entire park that we didn't have time to do, but we get how it works. And then last, there's Thwomp Panel Panic, which is a digital screen where you have to switch the tiles from blue to yellow a la Super Mario 3D World. And just like playing with friends, it can get a bit confusing, but it was pretty easy. I won't lie, I originally expected there to not be much to do aside from the Mario Kart ride and figured the, in quotes, mini games would be kind of corny, but they were pretty fun. Next up is the main attraction, which was Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge, which was the only ride in the park, but was well worth the wait. Fortunately, we only waited about 70 minutes, but there is so much to look at in the queue that it flies by. They did a really great job packing out the rooms with things to look at. So when you first walk in, the theme is Yoshi's Island / Yoshi's Story, and it's both adorable and so aesthetically pleasing. You have a bunch of Yoshi interacting on screens. There's items and Easter eggs from the games. It was beautiful. After, you go up a flight of stairs and end up outside, where you get a nice view of the park, and then you'll round the bend and walk into Bowser's castle, where you're greeted by the man himself. I think this is where the long wait times come in, because everyone wants to stop and take a pic with the big man. I mean, I know I had to. Then you'll pass a bunch of Mario Kart Cup trophies leading up to a Universal Cup, which is unique to the ride. There's also a great photo op not too far ahead with a framed picture of Bowser that's actually signed by Miyamoto. And then the next room is Bowser's throne room, which is just filled to the brim with books which titles reference all kinds of things in the Mario canon. To name a few, you have the Subtle Art of Fire Breathing, Trips to Shy Guy Falls, and the Double Dash years, which cover about 0.01% of the library. There's also a really, really cool Paper Mario diorama that's been put inside of a cage because I assume people are animals. The next room has digital screens that show the step-by-step construction of Mecha Koopas, along with some containers filled with replica bombs and bullet bills. And then finally, you're loaded into the room before the ride itself, which gives you instructions on how the ride works. Here you'll find individual lockers with a bunch of Mii costumes, or at least I assume they're Mii costumes because they're all the same size. And I've been asked several times already, but yes, Luigi's locker has a poltergust, so it was cool to see them acknowledge Luigi's Mansion. Then finally, it's time to get on the ride. You start by grabbing your Mario visor, and you're funneled into carts where you'll pick up these magnetic goggles that just clip right to the visor. And then you scan your power band on the steering wheel to track your score, and you're off. Now, the way the ride works is through AR, or augmented reality, so you'll see characters or enemies driving through your goggles depending on where you're looking. And as you're driving, you'll break item boxes to get shell refills, and you'll use the trigger on the steering wheel to fire those shells and collect coins. It's weird to say, but there is a solid amount of replayability for a ride because there's so much to interact with, and you'll earn different stamps in your account for hitting secret enemies and such. It's a decently long ride, too, and it probably has one of the greatest finales in any similar ride that I've been on. Then, like every other theme park in existence, you're dropped into a gift shop afterwards where you're greeted by walls of Mario paraphernalia. There's been a lot of vocal disappointment in the lack of other IPs or even characters, but I'm assuming this will be a much different landscape in 10 to 20 years. And I spent a solid amount of money in the gift shop for myself and friends and family, so I'm really the model customer for Nintendo. I found a lot of the merch to be a bit too gaudy for my taste, but I did pick up a handful of things that I like, such as cups and mugs for my studio, and this really cool reversible star pillow. Now, as for the Bowser Jr. battle, once you've collected 3 keys, you can access the very short line that is Bowser Jr. Shadow Showdown. Now, the reason the line is so short is because you need to collect 3 keys, which takes a significant amount of waiting, and unless you have them, the attendants will turn you away. This game has another great queue featuring Bowser's clown car, which I guess he's officially handed down to his son now, and a bunch of other cool statues and Easter eggs. But as for the game itself, it's called Shadow Showdown because the game is entirely shadow-based. Your shadow is cast onto a large screen, and you have to use your arms to swat away bombs, you jump and grab power-ups, you throw fireballs at Bowser Jr. It's really well done and very responsive, and my friends and I all agree that it was definitely the sleeper hit of the park. So much so that we ended up doing it twice. And by now you're probably thinking, Chuck, are you telling me you went all the way to Super Nintendo World in California and you didn't get to meet Mario? Of course not! However, we did meet Princess Peach first, and I'm sure she was pleased to be in the presence of royalty. Mario and Luigi was a bit messier. They pulled up about 15 minutes late, thinking who the hell they were, so the attendants told the line that it would be only group pictures. which was fine, because at least we got to meet the boys. But as for the costumes, they're very well done. The eyes blinked, which was a bit jarring at first, but it was really cool. And now that we've done almost everything the park had to offer, it was time to feast like kings. We got a coveted reservation at the Toadstool Cafe, which was super limited due to the amount of people in the park, but we got the last possible time slot at 8:30 p.m., which was perfect because we were starving. So when you walk in, you're greeted with a classic Toad House minigame that gives you the small present, big present choice, and you'll have the chance to earn some coins or power-up stamps like the Super Acorn or a Tanuki Leaf. You're then led into a queue with a giant screen that features the one and only Chef Toad, and eventually to the register where you'll place your order. We then ordered the entire menu. I'm not kidding. We were 6 very hungry grown men, and we wanted to try everything, so why not? Here's what we ate. For appetizers, we had 2 orders of the garlic knot toad heads, or whatever the hell they were called. It was served with a side of marinara, but honestly, it was mid. The bread was a bit stale. Now listen, I'm not a food critic, but I'm from New York City. You can't compete with our garlic knots. It's a fact. We also had the piranha plant caprese salad, which was tomato, fresh mozzarella, asparagus, and basil pesto. It was decent. The mozzarella was a little dry, but ultimately, it was pretty good. You could never go wrong with cheese. Oh, and please temper your expectations. While this was a sit-down restaurant, at the end of the day, this is theme park food, not a Michelin star restaurant. The last app we had was the tomato soup in the mushroom bowl, which for some reason the waiters were very confused about, and it didn't show up until about 25 minutes later. Tasted more like a bowl of marinara than tomato soup, so it was okay. This, of course, was all washed down with some superstar lemon squashes, which was a honey lemon soda with little mango stars and tropical boba. I was hesitant on ordering this one because I don't like beverages that are incredibly sweet, but this was really tasty and only subtly sweet. Now, the entrees are where the place really shined. We ordered the Mario Burger, which was just a regular cheeseburger with bacon and mushrooms. Pretty standard, and came with truffle fries. Now, here's the star of the menu, and that's the Luigi Burger, which isn't a burger, but a grilled chicken sandwich with Swiss cheese, green bell pepper, and a creamy basil pesto. That shit slapped. We had an order of the Chef Toad short rib, which was a braised short rib and a creamy goat cheese polenta, and you can't ever go wrong with short rib. It was tasty. Then the last entree was the Fire Flower spaghetti and meatballs, which was your pretty standard spaghetti and meatballs. Speaking as an Italian from New York, it was below par for me, but I still liked it. The dish contains quite a bit of red pepper, which gave it a little kick. One of the awesome waiters we were talking to told us that the dish originally was seasoned with ghost pepper, but customers complained, which I think is hilarious. Now, personally, the spicier the better, and I think I would have preferred the ghost pepper. And then last but not least, there's always room for dessert. Now, the kitchen informed us that they were out of the question block tiramisu, which was fine because while it looks really nice, we all know that tiramisu is just cake soaked in diarrhea water. So we opted for 2 Princess Peach cupcakes and a Mount Beanpole cake. The cupcakes had some depth, man. An edible white chocolate crown, 2 kinds of frostings, and a funfetti cupcake filled with raspberry jam. I love this, but I am glad that I got to share it with multiple people because it was fairly large and incredibly rich. I much preferred the Mount Beanpole cake, which was a Neapolitan layered cake, which is chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry for you uncouth viewers, and a matcha mousse on top. This was way less sweet, but very tasty, and also came with a little souvenir Mario flagpole on top. So this entire meal was only about $150, split between 6 guys, so that was good, and everyone got to try everything, and we were all full. So finally, the meal was done, and we waddled our full bellies out of the Toadstool Cafe to discover one final treat. And that was the park was completely empty, so we got to take as many pictures as we wanted, and at night, everything was lit up, so it looked really nice. And final thoughts, we had a fantastic time at Super Nintendo World. I understand how expensive theme park trips can be, between tickets, food, merchandise, etc., especially for families, but if you ever have the opportunity, it is definitely worth seeing. I might be a bit biased, but I think Universal and Nintendo did a great job bringing that world to life. It seems like there's nothing there because there's only one, in quotes, ride, but that ride is awesome. And don't discount how much fun some of the mini games are, and the Bowser Jr. fight is rad as hell. It's even fun just to walk around and look at things and just punch blocks and collect coins, and you can scan your power band and find these hidden 8-bit characters. What I'm saying is, if you go, explore as much as you can, but definitely splurge. Spend the $40 if you can, and get the power-up bands, which also doubles as an amiibo, which I just learned. And if you're gonna eat anything at the Toadstool Cafe, Luigi Burger's the way to go, unless you're vegetarian. That's all I've got to say for now. If you have more questions about Super Nintendo World or the trip, ask them in the comments section. I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. If you want more content on this, I am dropping a bunch of shorts. You can also go check out SideQuest, which is my side channel with my friends. We'll have a video up there as well, maybe some shorts there. And that's it. Thanks for watching.